Our 50 years of growth and success in the spring-making business has been brought about by the hard work of many different people. But it wouldn't have started at all if it hadn't been for the dreams and inventions of one man, Raymond Frederick Carlberg. After graduating from Grand Rapids Central High School, Ray went on to study civil engineering at the University of Cincinnati. Graduating in 1930, Ray married his college sweetheart, Virginia Lehrer, over her mother's strong objections. Ray also continued with another project he had started on in his college years, building the Cincinnati Union Terminal. This project to consolidate 7 different railway company facilities into one central passenger and freight terminal involved a monumental engineering effort, designing, engineering, and building 94 miles of new track, 22 new buildings, along with all the required roadways and bridges. The end result was an Art Deco-style masterpiece that redrew the map of Cincinnati. When the Union Terminal was completed in 1933, Ray was out of a job and the Depression had set in hard. Ray and Virginia and their 2-year-old daughter Claire moved back to Grand Rapids, where Ray hoped to find work. Ray's talent at organizing production was combined with a fascination with mechanical engineering design. The mechanical adding machines of the time used dozens of springs, and Ray designed and built a machine that could make these springs incredibly fast. He quickly rose through the ranks from common laborer to foreman to production manager. But Ray's dream of making his own way in the world had already taken shape. He built machines on his own and began making springs in the basement and garage of his home at 322 Auburn Southeast.
Do it. And then in the meantime, he set up in his own garage at home, set up a couple of little adding machines, and he was working on those for, what the hell it was. He made it for 2 or 3 auto supply companies. I'm trying to think, I don't remember who they were now. God, it's been a long time ago.
In 1940, he resigned from Allen Calculators and rented a small shop at 3753 South Division for his new business, Wolverine Coil Spring Company. By 1941, he had moved his new business to 818 Front Street, a building he and Virginia purchased with money she had inherited from her father. The war started the same year, and consumer goods production gave way to war production. Wolverine Coil limped through the next 4 years with 1 full-time employee and occasional part-time help whenever there was any work. Ray took a job with the Grand Rapids Hardware Company, organizing their production of 50 caliber machine gun ammo links for the war effort.
He came over there as engineer during the war. See, he just started that shop on Front Street, and he didn't have the equipment or the people or anything else, you know, to start out on or to go after a war job. Mm-hmm. So he took a job as engineer over there. And he had control of the whole thing. And
on January 1st, 1946, he reorganized Wolverine Coil Spring as a corporation. The shop now had coilers, torsion coilers, wire force slides, punch presses, a tool shop, and secondary operations equipment, along with 2 of Ray's hand-built spring machines. Business took off with the reviving civilian economy. But Ray always seemed to be full of ideas, and the war years had given him lots of time to think. Of all the strange things to come out of a coiler, one of the strangest was an ashtray. In 1947, Ray rented the basement of this building at 652 Turner Northwest and set up a shop producing ashtrays with an open coiled spring on the inside. He called it the Extinglo ashtray, and it held a lit cigarette tightly and put it out if it burned down to the coil. He guaranteed customers that if they used it, they would be safe from fires and burn marks on their furniture. From that point onward, all the employees got into the act of finding household uses for springs. Someone stretched out a thin wire coil spring, looked at the wiggly wire, and the cheese slicer and all its variations were born. Lots of other ideas followed. In 1951, Ray incorporated this as a separate consumer products division, Wolverine Household Products Incorporated, under the supervision of Art Madsen and Ray's brother Oscar, who went by the name of Gus. Also in 1951, Ray set up another corporation. He rented a former toy factory at 335 Indiana Northwest, and using some lathes he bought and some coilers from Wolverine Coil, he began producing grenade cores and other parts for rifle-launched grenades.
He got this job making these rifle-launched grenades. And he making the centerpiece out of square wire and rolling it in a perfect shape. And we had two of the big number 2 coilers over there, and 6 or 7 lathes. And we had one person on each lathe, you know, and then we had to make these arbors with a shape and everything, and then slot them. So they'd take these arbors and put them together, put the end on them, put them in the machine, and roll the grenade on there and cut it off and take it out, and then they take that thing out and they would collapse the arbor, and they could pull the arbor out of the spring.
The contract ran out by 1953, and the equipment was reabsorbed by Wolverine Coil Spring. The Wolverine companies continued to grow, and by 1957, the Spring and Household Products divisions had almost $500,000 in sales yearly. In March, Ray died suddenly and unexpectedly of a heart attack. He left behind quite a legacy. Besides Wolverine Coil, he had also owned a foundry in Charlotte, had built a factory for his former boss at Allen Calculators to set up a precision machining business in, and had helped countless others. He had always shown a profound loyalty to his friends and the people who worked for him, and they paid him back in kind.
He used to say, Jerry, he says, if my son-in-law, he says, turns out to be a good engineer, talking about Don, he said, if he turns out to be a good engineer, he said, we'll let him run the joint, and in a few years, he said, you and I will go fishing. We had it all planned. We were going to take a big vacation and go do some fishing. And but then he crossed me up.
Yeah. Virginia asked the employees if they thought the company could carry on, and they said, sure, we'll all help. And with Virginia as president and Gus as general manager, they did.
What do you think we ought to do? You think I could run it? Oh, yes, that would be fine, they said.
Ray had left behind a key asset, a core group of people capable of carrying the company into the future. The 12 full-time employees at the time included Paul Van Lonkhuizen, Art Madsen, Jerry Hanford, Rosie Soltis, and Ray's son-in-law, Don Risch. And the company's customer list included many of the companies whose business growth would help fuel the growth of Wolverine Coil Spring. Among them, Metal Office Furniture Company, now known as Steelcase. This is how the company looked in 1958. The door on the left opened into Gus's office, which is now the men's room, and a counter in the middle divided it from Paul's workspace. Over the next 10 years, the company doubled in size, slowly absorbing neighboring property and building on open space. In 1958, the former lumber barn to the south was added for wire storage, and the building in front of it was put to various uses. In 1959, the household products operation was moved from the Turner location to a former fire extinguisher factory at 828 Front Street. In 1961, the open loading drive was built over. In 1963, the company expanded into the former wholesale floor coverings building to the north. And in 1967, new office space, a covered loading dock and tool shop and four-slide space were built on the open ground in front of and between the existing buildings. The front of the original factory could still be seen in the tool room. Gus retired in 1968 and Don took over as general manager. Don expanded the company's stamping and four-slide capabilities and began a phenomenal period of growth. In 1973, the Household Products Company was sold, and the dilapidated wooden two-story building and shed that it was in were torn down and replaced with a new building for the hand operations department. In 1977, the warehouse was added on open land to the north, and in 1981, the old lumber barn was replaced with a modern facility for the tool room. By the time Don retired in 1988, he had overseen a doubling in manufacturing space and a tenfold growth in sales volume, more than realizing Ray's hopes for him. Taking over from Don as general manager, Jack Vandenberg has helped lead the company through more changes. And in 1995, Virginia retired as president and passed the reins to her grandson, Jay Dunwell.